If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. With that being said, hello everyone, welcome back to another figure review. My name is Matthew, as I'm shaking the camera a whole ton, because this is a very unstable table. Just kind of shaking it. I'm literally grabbing it with my fingers, and I'm shaking it. Anyway, today we're back with another figure review. Today we're taking a look at the NECA Monster of Monsters, Godzilla himself, the video game appearance from 1988 on the Nintendo Entertainment System, or as you longtime viewers of the channel know him as, Game Godzilla on the Amber's Godzilla show. That's right. I would just kind of like to preface this before we actually start. This is not a very good condition Godzilla figure, as he's definitely been through his wear and tears. I mean, he's the second oldest of the whole collection, and I got him when I was a bit more of a rowdy kid. Basically, he's got a lot of scuffs on him, some actually missing parts, and some parts which are absolutely broken. So this isn't going to be a shining example as to a higher quality, very good in condition NECA figure. And also, if you haven't watched the Concrete Jungle Kong figure, I'm currently sick, so I might be a bit sniffly throughout this video, might even cough or sneeze. So with that said, this is going to be a kind of a review of an old favorite of mine. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the figure. The one that helped start it all, the NES video game appearance Godzilla. So in case if you're too thick in the head to know what this guy is based on, this is going to be based on his appearance in the 1988 game Godzilla Monster of Monsters, in which that game he is an 8-bit sprite and you take control of either Godzilla or Mothra, and you're placed from planet to planet, facing off different enemies like Ghidorah, Mogera, Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla, Gigan, the list goes on. And I did actually play the game via emulator, and I'm gonna say, it's an alright game. I think I would have liked it when I was a kid, but that said, it's definitely not a game I would have, like, absolutely just chokehold NECA to make a figure off of, like, make a figure of. Like, it wouldn't be like that. But for the video game adaptation that we did get into figure form, what did we get? Well, this is actually a base model as far as like the actual sculpt is concerned, reused from the 1984 figure, just redone a bit. And it is worth noting that there was a reissue of both the 84 and this guy that had updated sculpting work. Sorry, my apologies about that. Let's take a look at the paint and sculpt that we do have here. So for the head, we have some pretty pissed off red orange-ish eyes with some blue, dark blue pupils as well for the actual like eyeballs themselves. For the eyelids, we actually have some black around them, which kind of gives the appearance of like almost like a video game illustration, or maybe just like mascara. I don't know, figure companies tend to do that sometimes. We have some incredible molding and sculpt work with like the multiple rows of fins on the back. Of course, mine are scuffed to heaven and hell and back, but it looks pretty good for what you get. For the sides, we obviously have the ears, which are dry brushed in a very well sculpted manner. For the fronts, we have the nostrils, the sides of the chins, and of course, we have the teeth, which are going to be individually sculpted and painted as well. And I have to say that this is actually some of the best mouth paint on a NECA Godzilla, in my personal opinion. The hinge color black is something I don't really agree with, because it does kind of stand out like an oddball. And we also have some pretty decently colored paints, like as far as the gum is concerned, on the roof of the mouth as well. So the sculpt work on the head is already pretty good. For the neck piece itself, which actually mine was actually stuck. I actually remember like commenting on it, and then I broke it off camera, I believe. For the neck itself, we have some more like the bumps and grooves kind of going down. So it's based on the suit of the 84, just translated to the figure as far as like the pixels, and you can also see some blues that are like swatches of like lighter blues. Pay attention to those, because you might notice that they're a bit cubed, well, squared. That is because, again, because it's based on the video game version, it is going to feature these pixels, which are, to be honest, is a bit hit and miss as far as the actual execution goes. For these spines, they're actually going to be more of a lighter blue, and I do appreciate the fact that it actually goes from a dark black to a dark blue to a lighter blue. So it actually has some sort of mild gradation with it, as well as it also has, maybe this was scuffed on mine, I'm willing to incline that, so wherever there's like black paint like this, I don't remember if it was like scuffed like that or if it was just actually like this from the get-go, because I didn't record my unboxing for this. I just opened it off camera for Christmas, so yeah. For the actual shoulders, again, we have some more of the pixelated detail, like the lighter blues, the kind of darker-ish blues, and then the black wash. For the front, we have like the circular kind of details, and then more pixels. That's definitely a scuff. We have definitely like some like grime and such, dust and lint in this thing. This thing is incredibly old anyway. More scuffage on the front of the abdomen, going to the sides where you can see the shoulders. More detail to be found with the pixels, and of course we have all the bumps and ridges in the skin, the blue paint that's on the actual arm itself, and then the claws, which are going to be, actually this claw is missing on mine, and I don't remember specifically how that happened, but if I do remember, actually no, that'd be that hand. My guess is just because of how much I used to roughhouse with these NECA Godzillas. It probably just got chipped and I was never able to find it. So, yeah. I remember actually for a while, I think this was on the Avery's Godzilla show, this guy's hand actually fell off. And I don't know where it happened to our hand since. And then there was like a moment in time where the hand was gone. So my guess is that if my memory is correct, which keep in mind the human memory is faulty, this was actually the reason why this fingernail is gone. So, but for the actual hand, we actually do have a lot of nice like colorization. I know this predates Bluey, but this really does remind me of the color scheme of the character. Or maybe I'm thinking of Bandit, her dad. You know, if anyone has watched Bluey, definitely raise your hand up, because I know I have. And I hate to say it, I actually kind of enjoy the show. Anyway, back to Godzilla. The actual claws we do have here are very well nicely done. Shockingly still has the white color, as you can see here. This one's glued because that hand absolutely broke off as well. And there's also another joint that broke off, so it's not done yet. That said, moving down to the legs, where we get the big, meaty thighs. Like, these are some big kickers. For sure where Godzilla's big meat and gravy are. We can definitely see more of the pixelated detail coming down to, like, the bottom half of the thighs here. And then front side, we have, like, almost like a bit of an opposite effect, where the base skin, if we're going to assume that the lighter, this blue, is going to be the base skin, and then we have this backside, which has the darker skin, and then we have the pixels here, and then lighter pixels here. I kind of like that color contrast a lot. Of course, here we have the kneecaps, which are going to be kind of like folded in, and I like how they're just not like basically mirrored from each other. Like, this has different pixel designs than this one does. See that? That's interesting. And of course, just to kind of showcase the sides of the body, because I don't think I showcased them enough. Back of the legs, bit more of the pixelated detail. This back of the leg, there we go. For the actual feet, again, going to be featuring the claws, which aren't as scuffed as I thought they would be. Like, this one's almost like practically untouched, aside from these. It's just got a lot of dust and lint and grime in there, because yeah, this thing has been through its fair share of battles with me. I used to, like, take this guy in the 54 and beat the crap out of this thing. Like, there was no tomorrow. That said, I definitely do think that, like, the sculpt work is still very well done, and it's meant to capture the 84 suit. Of course, it's not meant to be the NES Godzilla, because if that was the case, this thing would be radically different. But that said, We also have the this whole big part of the head, the spines, which are going to be a more this is actually the original sculpt work part, like these middle fins, which are meant to be more replica of the actual design, which in the actual NES game, he has bigger dorsal plates in comparison to his movie counterparts. And at the time, I think like even the 84 had very relatively smaller fins. So they had to really like go in and make new molds, which I'm actually happy with. And they're not too poppy, but they are pretty big and pretty malleable. Although that could just be because of how worn down the rubber is. But for the actual detail, it is very well done. And I would have almost liked to have seen what this thing would have looked like on a standard Godzilla figure, not just like done with the whole video game aesthetic. But that said, we have all the like more triangular fins that are very well pointed. We have all these fins which are also well painted, although I definitely do think that they are part of the 84 sculpt. Again, I don't actually own the 84 figure, and I do plan on buying it sometime. It's just a matter of actually finding a seller who's willing to accept a decent price, because anything above $50 for a loose 84 figure, and you are officially a greedy person, at least in my opinion. But that said, these fins are really well painted, and I do like the pixels we do have here. The pixel work does leave a little bit to be desired on the smaller fins, especially this one, which is like the biggest of the smaller fins, if that makes any sense. Because here it almost looks like a cross. Which, I mean, hey, maybe you're just paying homage to the D-pad on the actual, like, NES. But, of course, you do get some more pixel detail in the actual fins themselves. And they are varied in color, which almost looks like again, like an 8-bit version of the actual tail. However, the 8-bit detail stops when you get to the base of the tail, which sadly is just your basic blue, with the more darkened wash, but we do get some more pixel line details when it comes to the bottom of the tail, and it looks really nice, except for all the grime and dust. As for length, it's not a particularly long tail, but it does the job well enough. So overall, for the sculpt and paint, I can't really judge accuracy, because accuracy on something that is meant to be replicating an 8-bit sprite on an action figure like this is very subjective. So overall, I think NECA did a really great job at least adapting the video game the video game design of Godzilla, even though I think this is more supposed to be based on the more Showa era Godzilla. I really think the 84 definitely benefits with its retooling of the fins to be a lot more like the video game version. That said, I definitely think that there are still some problems. Like, for example, I think the pixels are something that works well in theory, but I don't know, there's just something off about them, even after all these years later, that, like, you can still tell, like, where it's sculpted as far as, like, the actual design goes, and it just looks weird having them overtopped with, like, hyper-realistic details. It just looks off to me. I don't know how to describe it. It's just obviously something that wasn't meant for it, but because we got this in the first place, it actually does look at least nice to look at. And I definitely do think that the tail transition is also a bit of a problem, and maybe the outer row of fins could have been improved, which I think they also did on the reissue. Again, I could be wrong, because I don't own the reissue, nor do I desire to get it, unless if I get it as a replacement for this guy. But that said, sculpt and paint, I'm actually going to give it an 8 out of 10, just because, like, not because of nostalgia, but because the sculpt work is absolutely amazing, even for an older figure like this, and the whole, like, paint job is really well done. I just wish I hadn't scuffed this thing that much over the years. Next up is articulation, and like I made mention before, there's actually a bit of articulation that I should probably address on this thing. But first, we're going to start with the jaw. For the jaw, we can open up and down, close in about that far, open up about that far. So very much a functional jaw. For the actual head, we can go, well, moving the neck piece, we can go all the way around, look up about that far, down about that far, and can rotate left and right, of course. But with the neck, we can actually go, again, another full 360, look down significantly, look up significantly, and because it's made of a more rubberized-esque plastic, it's a bit malleable. You can actually get a bit of like more leaning side to side, which is very well done. Something I also found neat is that when you look up, you can actually get a little gap, but if you close the mouth, it actually kind of covers up the gap a little bit. So it makes sense because every time Godzilla's looking up, he'd most likely be roaring. So that is really nice. I don't think that was intentional by NECA, but it's there. So for the shoulders, we can go about that far up, that far down, can rotate a full 360 degrees, bend in with the elbow like this, as well as swivel with the elbow. A ball joint here at the wrist, which is going to be quite limited because of the size, so you can get a swivel and a little bit to the side. Just a little bit. It's not that much, but it is worth mentioning. This wrist, also, by the way, still glued. The waist was never really that functional to begin with, so you can get a bit of like back and forth like this, and you can get a little side to side in a mild rotation. And I say, actually no, you can go with the full 360. Again, I forget like some of the aspects of these more older figures, so you can definitely get a bit of a leg rotation. It's not like 62 level of hindered, but it's still, I feel like if there's a bit more clearance here, you could have gotten maybe like a bit of a bigger ab crunch. For the legs, we can actually go this far to the sides, this far inside, and go full 360 with the legs. As you can see here, a little tight on this one. For the knee, we can bend in about this far, straighten out about this far, and can rotate some. This one can actually rotate a bit easier on mine. But you might notice that I used the foot to rotate it. That is because a few days after it, I decided to be a complete moron, drop this thing from my bunk bed, foot snaps. I thought it was the ball joint. Nope, it's the actual ball peg. The peg itself snapped. So you can actually kind of see there's a bit of a glue seam right there that somehow works after all these years. That is some strong glue. Like, I'm impressed myself. But for the actual foot itself, you can go a bit forward, back, full 360, and a bit of a pivot. I am kind of noticing that there's a bit of a difference. Like, you guys can see that, right? And we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ball jointed segments at the base of the tail, which can go left, right. Oh, crap. Also, something I like to point out is that for some reason on mine, it actually pegs out right here instead of the ball peg itself. So just to kind of press that back in. For some reason, it's not going in. Okay, there we go. So yeah, there's that. And for the actual like bendy wire, you can actually twist this thing, which is very fun. And I do like the way it looks. Honestly, this almost reminds me of like the bendable Godzilla figure from Trendmasters. I own the Mecha Godzilla. I intend on getting rid of it one day. But for the actual like articulation, it's average for a NECA figure. At the time, even then, like the 94 and 2014 could do about the same, if not a little more than this guy did. Say, except for the 2014 actually being able to look up like this guy can. But that said, I like this. I really like the way that this thing moves. Of course, I've done quite a bit of a number to this thing over the years, and I'm a bit more careful with my figures nowadays, say, except if you're for my cats. But that said, I do appreciate this figure having as much articulation as it does. Judging this on 2025 standards, I definitely do think the head and jaw are pretty good. The shoulders, a little stiff, okay, but they're still very well done. Wrists could be a bit more freed up. Same with the waist, significantly. Maybe a little bit for the knee and foot, but that's really all I'd add. So I would say for articulation, it also gets an 8 out of 10. Because yes, one could say it's outdated, and it absolutely is, but it moves fine well enough for me, at least. So there's that. And so for a brief size comparison, here he is with the NECA King Kong Concrete Jungle version. And it's the only figure I have on my person right now because, well, let's actually kind of get like a bit of a more back shot for these two. So yeah, they're definitely not in scale. They're the only figures I currently have on my person at the moment because I intended to bring them out here just so I could film their reviews. And, yeah, I would honestly say that this is not a great setup, but they're actually pretty interesting together. Like, this is a very interesting pair. You have this big, vibrant blue Godzilla and this much bigger, more pissed off looking Kong. Again, I'm just calling it interesting. So, unfortunately, this is the only size comparison I can do. And I don't own the 84, so don't expect a comparison with that anytime soon. And, of course, comes the last part of this review. Accessories, which I don't actually... This guy actually doesn't have any. But it's kind of worth noting that this guy actually came in a very fancy style box. A box that I sincerely miss. But it came in a box that mimicked the actual packaging that the original NES Monsters game came in. And it's so cool that that was actually their, technically speaking, the first time NECA actually got the rights to use a 5-panel box, as they called it back then, and I think they still do now, like in their Godzilla line, because everything followed like the same clamshell Godzilla 54 from Bandai America packaging. And sure, they were fun, but they were kind of just getting a little repetitive. So once they actually got the okay, starting with the 62 and the 56 Godzillas, to actually make their own boxes, that's when NECA really started cooking. And unfortunately, that didn't really last long now, did it? But really, this Godzilla was almost like a testament to like what NECA could do as far as bringing in new pictures and boxes and such. And that was an awesome box. I really wish I still had it. If I get another one in the box, I'm definitely 110% going to not keep it in the box, but actually keep the box itself. There's no question about it. Which I honestly think kind of perfectly segues to the actual outro. Like, what do I think of this figure? I'm smacking my camera for like the billionth time. Sorry about that, camera. I think that this figure is really good. I do think so. It's very much of a one-of-a-kind piece because I don't know if there's any other Godzilla merch out there that actually, like, is from the NES game. Its sculpt is really good. Its paint job is fun and creative. Its articulation, while very outdated, it's still serviceable and really expressive for what you get. And it just serves its purpose of being a fun video game adaptation of the actual Godzilla we saw on the screen into figure form. That said, do I recommend this in 2025? If you can find this thing with the box, mint in box, assuming that, for maybe like $50, $60, that's going to be your soft cap. Anything higher than that, no. Just plain out no. I definitely think that this guy is deserving of a memory down lane thing, and I'm perfectly happy that I own this thing. Even though this condition kind of saddens me, I'm still planning to get another one, and we'll see what happens. But that said, for my final score, I'm going to rate this guy an 8 out of 10. A very welcome addition into anyone's collection, regardless of how young or how old you are. Actually, maybe how old you are. How young you are, let's just kind of leave it at that, because this figure, if I could do this and this to my figure, plus scuff it to who knows how much, and plus get rid of a nail, yeah, your kid's not going to take care of this thing. You might as well have it. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.